do it.
Right across these plains and prairies, Rocky Mountain highs, fade off into the distance like ghost riders in the sky. Black smoke and white wine, steel horses side by side. It's more than just a living, y'all. Hell, it's our way of life. We're the last of the cowboys. Giddy up, gone boys. 18 wheels on the concrete. It's a slow and dying breed, rolling like Jesse James. Modern day outlaw game. If you're out here riding with me, come on back and make some noise. We're the last of the cowboys. It's a family tradition, diesels running through our veins. Daddy showed us the ropes, we were going the fast lane. Branded by our heroes, taught to saddle up and move. We keep this country rolling, we're damn proud of what we do. We're the last of the cowboys, giddy up, gone boys. 18 wheels on the concrete, it's a slow and dying breed, rolling like Jesse James. Modern day outlaw game. If you're out here riding with me, come on back and make some noise. We're the last of the cowboys. Third time generation. Little old school salvation. Blazing trails across this nation. Sea to shine sea. We're the last, we're the last, we're the last of the cowboys. We're the last of the cowboys. We're the last of the cowboys. The giddy up go boys. 18 wheels on the concrete. It's slow and dying breed, rolling like Jesse James.
Man. So I'm driving home from the shop a while ago, and Sparky calls me up, and he says, well, we're going to talk about, planning and all this stuff, working up a good thing for everybody. And he said, well, one of my trucks came in last night. Driver came in, and he brought my truck in. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen Sparky's trucks, and I don't know if he's going to be on here or not. I'm trying to get him on, but he was prepared to come on, or so he said he was. Anyway, one of his trucks came in last night, and he was mad, and you would be mad, and I would be mad. I don't know if you've seen any of Sparky's trucks, but they're nice. Kenworth W900. All stretched out, all decked out, chromed up. Great big cat motor, run. And he's got a Peterbilt. It's just beautiful, all big, both of them just beautiful trucks and all that. Hey, Renata, Jess is here, Tricia, Tamara, all you guys. Man, I'm so glad you guys are here. I appreciate it. We're going to talk in a minute. Anyway, driver brought his truck in last night, and you'd have to see the truck. It's beautiful. And it had 3 of the top lights were burned out. One of the headlights was burned out, operating on one headlight. Deb Dingo, what's up, my girl? Brought his truck in 3 gallons low on oil and 2 gallons low on coolant. Had a flat tire on the drives. Had the step on the passenger side was bent all the way back. That's how he brought this man's truck into him last night. So he's in the shop working on the truck all day today, trying to get it, back up and ready. And he's got a different driver to go in it, obviously. But he's not in the best mood in the whole wide world. And neither would you be. So we talked about that this afternoon, and he said, "Man," he said, "call me when you're ready to go on." So I've tried to call him, and hey Betty, what's up, girl? Uh, Tried to get him, and he's at his shop, and he doesn't have much of a signal. So I might get him, and I might not. I hope so. But two of the things we wanted to talk about that he and I have been talking about were some of the regulations that are being placed on us small carriers, us small trucking companies, and the reasons for those. And that was one. And the other one was my favorite subject, and I know it's your favorite subject too, and you guys love to hear me talk about it, every single week. Broker transparency. Because he got a call from a guy, Sparky got a call from a guy that's got this huge, huge following on YouTube, which I have a YouTube channel too, and you guys, I wish you would all subscribe to it because if anything ever happens, if I get kicked off of here, I'll have to go over there and who knows? You never know with the way Facebook operates. But anyway, this guy's got a big, big, big YouTube channel, and he's a big famous guy, and he Deb says, "Oh my God, Connecticut and their monthly fuel tax reporting." Yeah, no shit. Well, that's just one of them. Anyway, we started talking about those things, and when we talk about them just between the two of us, that's like preaching to the choir because we both think, the same way about them. But this guy, hey Nicholas, what up? This guy has this big, 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 gigantic, YouTube channel. He sells T-shirts and he goes around and interviews people. Hey Candace, hey Tony. And he's a famous guy, an internet famous guy. And here lately, he's been doing a lot of preaching about broker transparency. Well, here's the deal on this guy. He's like so many of these YouTube guys and social media guys. He drove a truck for his uncle for a couple of years, and now he makes a shit ton of money because he's got over 100,000 followers on YouTube, and you do get paid for that. And he sells T-shirts and truck stops, and he sells them on his YouTube channel, and he goes around and interviews people, and now he's the voice of the American trucker. That's just like having, to me. Now, some of you guys might know who I'm talking about, and some of you might like him, and that's fine. That's dandy. That's great. But to me, that's just like having a 28-year-old fucking kid in Washington making laws about what we do or don't do. That's the same thing. It's a guy that doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, sitting there claiming to be my voice. Wasn't he doing too with Swift? I don't know. I don't watch his stuff. I don't pay any attention to the guy. But I kind of hear other people that do. Kind of sounds like some kind of mother trucker. Well, Renata, yeah. Anyway, I don't watch his stuff because if I do, it only takes me about 2 minutes into the thing to get mad, and so he's approached Sparky about doing an interview, and Sparky just turned him down. He said, "Look, I don't really want to talk to you, so go do your thing." So Sparky doesn't give a shit about social media anyway, and other people I know, they like to get close to this guy and talk to him and make friends with him because he's got a big following, and they think that if they're friends with this clown, that they will get one too, and I don't. Tony says, "Those that can do, those that can't teach." Well, there you go. And here I am teaching tonight. But anyway, those were the two things we wanted to talk about tonight, among other things. Unless you guys, want to talk more. If you want to, you're welcome to do that. You're welcome to call in if you want to and talk on the show. You're more than happy to do that. But I'm just going to get this off my chest about the whole broker transparency thing, and then I'll move on. Deb says, that guy ain't no trucking expert. It takes about 2 minutes to figure that out, Deb. I mean, he's a media guy. That's his thing. And like I said, more power to him. But I've always said this on my show. I wasn't talking about you. You impart knowledge. Big difference. Well, thank you. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that, mate. I've always said this, and I've said it. Those that can't teach go into politics. Ron, I'm going to call you after the show. We're going to need you to run for Congress because evidently them people up there can't get figured out. Anyway, this guy does this thing, and he does this show, and I've said this for 100 years, and I'm going to say it one more time. Bad advice is worse than no advice. Just shut up. Just don't say anything. If all you're going to do is get on there, all day, every day, and spout bullshit, keep it. You stow it. And I know a lot of people watch this stuff. Back during the convoy, a lot of people started watching the convoy, and some of these people that were streaming all day and all night, all day and all night, and truth be told, there was a lot more drama there, and real life drama, and real life, hatred and anger going on the convoy than there was on daytime television. So a lot of these people got on there and started following the thing. Nick says, finally got me a contact for freight coming out of Savannah, Georgia, giving a decent rate going out to Tennessee. Excellent. That's great. That's where it's at. That's what we do. Anyway, these guys getting on there all day, every day, and they got to fill up time. They got to have what they call on social media. They got to have content. You have to have content. There has to be filler in there. You got to fill it up. Well, hey, Jeff, what's up, brother? Happy New Year, man. You got to have content. You got to fill up that time. You got to pack in those hours with interesting content. And a lot of the people I noticed during the convoy, because I had some good friends that were in the convoy, and I didn't how can I put this? I didn't like it. It's not my thing. That's you guys know me pretty well by now. That's not how I do things. But I, what I did like, what I did appreciate, was the fact that those guys were out there and they were doing something, and they believed in it, and they felt like it was right. So, as my friends and my brothers and sisters that I trust and that I love and that I respect, I admire that. I don't have to agree with everything, somebody says and does to be their friend. And you don't have to agree with me to be mine. I guarantee you that. So I even called one guy that's a friend of mine, and he was in the convoy for a long time, from the very beginning all the way to the very end. And I knew that as a friend, we talked on the phone pretty much every day. And I knew that as a friend, he was having some trouble at home. And I knew that he had, Todd say, me and you could make some shady content. Add Sparky Anderson mix. It'll be epic. And you put the little laughy things in, you said, kidding. But I've seldom read a more honest and truthful statement from you, Todd. We could really do that. Sparky's supposed to be on here, but I couldn't get him. I couldn't get him on the phone. He's nursemaid in his sick truck tonight. Anyway, they make this content. So these guys during the convoy were doing that, and I talked to a couple of guys that were in the convoy. Pretty much all the time. They're friends of mine. They're people that, when they come to Nashville, they come to my home, and we go have dinner together and drink a few beers and hang out. We're friends. We're friends in trucking and away from trucking. And so I offered at one point, hey, Michelle, man, I haven't seen you in a couple weeks. We've been missing you too. I had put you on a list and was going to call you later, but now that you're here, you'll just have to put up with me in person. Anyway, I called him one day because I knew that he had some things going on at home. And I won't bring it up, those things, because it's none of my business and anybody else. But I did know that he was having some trouble at home. But he was very committed to seeing the whole convoy thing through. And I said, look, I'll do this. I'm not a convoy guy. I'm not, that's not how I see things. But I said, I will fly out and meet you, and I'll drive your truck for, whatever, 5 days or a week or whatever it takes. You go home and take care of your family and take care of your business. And when you're done, I'll either swing by and drop your truck off to you or meet you somewhere, and I'll go home. And he said it was funny. He said, I think you'd actually do that, wouldn't you? And I said, well, if I said I would do it, I will do it. I said, I will come to wherever you want me to meet you. And I said, I'll drive your truck for, whatever you need, 5 days, a week, whatever. And, I'll do my best to, keep the thing going on your behalf. And I said, I don't want to speak to anybody. I don't want to discuss it with anybody, but, you need to go home and take care of your family and take care of your business. And we kind of sort of started to make plans to do that. And then the convoy came to an abrupt halt, and he was able to go home and take care of everything. The point that I'm trying to make here is that, besides the convoy, besides the, what you might or might not think politically or any of that shit, we're still friends, me and that guy, and we're going to be. And that counts. We don't have to, Jeffrey, grandson is demanding Pap's attention. Well, I'm sorry I'm not more entertaining for the grandkids. I'll wear a funny hat next week, Jeff. But thanks for stopping in, brother. I appreciate it. So anyway, I don't necessarily have to agree with every single thing you think or do, for you and I to be friends. And this guy's that way too. And I think that, my big thinking on the whole political thing is that we have people out there spending billions of dollars trying to keep people mad and keep them divided and keep them pissed off. And, because that works for them and it gives them content. And there's still people, right now today. And that have you noticed contracted rates have gone down? Yeah, they have. But most of the contract rates, like ours, for instance, were done back in November for this year now, for 23. So my rates did not go down. In fact, I increased most of my rates, all but a very few, across the board. So I guess that depends on the carriers and what they need to. Mara, the hell, come dragging in here. Where have you been? No, never mind. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. Dry van rates. Yeah, I don't know. I do dry vans. That's what I do. And tankers. But anyway, back to what little bit I do politically. There's people out there that are just hell bent on dividing us and keeping us mad at each other and not liking each other. It's to a point now. Mara says Power Only is paying right now. She would know, guys. She would know this. Pay attention to my girl. Anyway, as long as they can keep us divided and pissed off at each other, now you can't you can't say, well, I don't agree with these Democrats. I have a different take on things. Or you can't say, well, I don't agree with these Republicans. I have a different take. Now it's got to be, well, if you're a Democrat, you're a communist, or if you're a Republican, you're a Nazi. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. People, ever since the beginning of this country, 250 years ago, there have been people that had different opinions on different things, and they've always worked it out, found some place in the middle, and moved forward and kept this country going. And that's what we need to get back to. We're going to be in deep shit. Because I'll tell you something. In our world, small trucking companies, independent people like us, the guys that really and truly make the world go round, for some reason, and they've made it political, for some reason now, all of a sudden, they're trying to get us at war with each other. Todd says, I don't agree with a politician 99.9% of the time. I don't either. And Todd, you and I know each other, and we've had this conversation. I don't either. I don't care who they are. I don't care which party they're in. Those people don't represent me. They just don't. And I mean on either side. Marcia, you're talking politics? Kinda, as much as I do. But those people don't represent me up there. They don't represent me. What's going on with us in our world, my idea of somebody in politics is a representative, not a leader. No, not a leader, not somebody that's in charge of a fucking thing. Those people are sent up there to represent people. Mara said, none of them represent me. Me either. Todd says, I'm here. Those people don't represent me. They don't. They just don't. And I don't like the idea of, some little asshole congressperson, deciding that they're my leader. And people will go to these big rallies and they'll say, gee, Todd, where do you stand on the issue of taxes? Well, newsflash, I don't give a shit where Todd stands on the issue of taxes. What I give a shit about is that Todd gives a shit about what I think about taxes, and his job is to go to Washington and represent me, not him. I don't care what he thinks about taxes or abortion or voting or immigration. I don't care what he or she thinks. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter shit to me. So anyway, this thing about broker transparency has been brought up by, and some people on the that want to be talking heads on the internet. That seems to be a hot topic, so they'll bring it up. In particular, there were a couple of people that last 10-4 DC thing, not this most recent one, but the one before. And Todd is very active in that. And once again, Todd is welcome to come on my channel, on my page, and talk about 10-4 DC anytime he wants to, and promote it and push it forward. And probably next year I will go if I can. If I'm able to go, I'll probably go because of Todd. Not because of anything political, not because of anything like that. But a couple of years ago, the one guy that got all the attention at the 10-4 DC meeting up in Washington was a guy walking around crying about broker transparency. Mara says, if you need broker transparency, then you need to get some negotiation skills. That's part of it. The other part of it is newsflash. There's already a law out there that says that me, as a broker, and I'm a broker and a truck driver, and I am a truck driver. I'm so old, and I've been driving trucks so long, that back when I started driving trucks, if somebody called you a trucker, that was an insult. That was insulting. You were a truck driver, or you weren't shit. Truckers back then, because they, back in the 60s and 70s, they had these pictures of these clown guys with the big shoes, and they say, keep on trucking. And those guys were truckers. They were truckers. And the rest of us were truck drivers. My dad's favorite thing to say was, gee, I think if I called myself a truck driver, I'd know where I got that dent on my bumper. That kind of thing. So that's how old I am. Back when everything meant something different than it does now. Because if you get on social media, go, yeah, truckers, we're the real ones. Those truck drivers, they're the steering wheel holders. No, that's not true. And you're a dumb fucking, you should. What was it? It used to be a thing. You guys remember Little Rascals? And, they were going up to the house one day, and they were telling Spanky. They said, now we're going to knock on the door up here. When the guy answers the door, don't say anything. And Spanky says, what do you mean? And he goes, well, he's already going to think you're stupid. Don't start talking and prove him right. So that's what, that's my favorite thing. Don't start talking and prove him right. And that might be what I'm doing here. But broker transparency is already on the books. As a broker, I am required to maintain records for 3 years on every transaction that I do. Fortunately, all those records now, at least in my office, all those records are kept electronically. And we do keep them for 5 years, just in case. But I am required to keep those records. I am required to disclose them when asked. I do send out on my broker carrier contracts. I do send out a one sentence thing that says that as a carrier for me, you don't care about that. That you will not come and question, my history or my rates. I do that for one reason. I don't really care. Honestly, I don't care. And I've only ever had one carrier ask me the question. Only one. Only one. I don't really care if you know what I charge, because my job, should you try to backdoor me or go after my customers to get what little bit of money I do keep, my job is to have a good enough relationship with my customer. I just got my new authority audit notice. Excellent. Excellent. Big thing, Candace. Just keep your driver files in order. And when they come in, if they come in at all, Todd says good brokers exist, just not common. I'd debate that. Jacinda with the cherry popper. What up, girl? I mean, you stop by and make my heart go pitter patter. Just pitter patter. I was talking about you today to somebody. A guy came to pick up that white truck that you were looking at, and he picked it up and was talking about it. Cherry, you go. And I was telling him about you when you drove it from Phoenix to the shop. Everybody's saying hi, Jacinda, hi, Jacinda. And I said, I was telling him about your cherry popper truck. And he said, where's that? And I said, well, she's got it. She already left. But anyway, he's got the big white truck now. He was real happy with that. Cherry popper. I'm working with one. Shane Ferris is on here. He said, hi, Jacinda. I got on text. All I have to do is ask for what they have going out. Oh, cool. Yeah. Anyway, where was I? Where was I before? I rudely interrupted myself. Jacinda say, Mara, hi, Mama. She called you Mama. You believe that? Can you believe that? Because, Mara, I know you're at least 15, 18 years younger than Jacinda, and she's calling you Mama? What's that? I'm kidding. I made a little joke about that. Anyway, I do put a sentence on there that you won't ask me about that as a carrier. There's two reasons for that. Number one is that I don't have time. I don't have time to talk to you about it, and I don't want to. Jacinda say it's a Mexican thing. Oh, God. I'm not getting into that. That's the number one reason is I don't want to talk about it. I don't think it's any of your fucking business what I charge my customer. Do you go to Walmart and pick up, a whole thing of tomatoes and walk up to the checkout and tell the woman, I'm going to buy these tomatoes, but first I want to know what you paid for them. What did you people pay for these tomatoes? My response would be, grow your own fucking tomatoes. Fuck you, get out. I mean, do I call any of you guys and ask what it costs? I think I have a daughter her age. I know I do. I do, Mara. I do have a daughter her age. Gives me a headache. But anyway, it's a ridiculous concept to do that. How many of you on here right now? There's a bunch of people on here. How many of you people on here? How many have I ever called and asked you how much it costs to operate your truck, and then base the rates that I give you as a broker on that? Ever? Once? What's the difference? How much does it cost to operate your truck? $1.30? Oh, good. Well, since it's $1.30, I'll give you 10% over $1.30. Is that fair? Don't you think that's fair? Well, of course it is. If you're saying that I can only make 10%, why shouldn't you only make 10%? Why are you special? You're not. You're an asshole. It goes into this whole thing about that we hear so much about on some of these pages. It goes into this whole thing about, poor me. Poor me. Oh, I'm such a pitiful man. I'm a pitiful woman. Nobody respects me. Nobody loves me. Nobody pays any. Where do these people come from? I don't know these people. I damn sure don't want to be around them. I don't want to hear them. Shane said, I wish I made 10%. 10 years ago, Shane. I don't know how long you've been around. I know you've been around a long time, and I know you're damn good at what you do. 10 years ago, the mark, if you were in the trucking business and you have multiple units out there running up and down the road, the mark to make 10 years ago, well, maybe a little more, let's say 12, 15 years ago, was 7%. If you were in the trucking business and you had drivers and you had company trucks and company trailers, whatever kind of equipment you were in, and you were out there operating, running up and down the road, paying your drivers, paying the taxes, paying the, all the things that go along with that, whatever benefits you could come up with. If you ended up at the end of the day with 7%, you were considered really good at what you do. And I don't just mean little guys. And I don't just mean, middle-sized guys. I mean the big guys too. 7% was the big money. That was, if you were doing that, you were doing it right. And it had to go to do with, your operating margins and your COS and all that stuff, digital, how to make the dots and dashes work, all that stuff. And 7% was the mark. And, you'd look at that like me, when I started getting a little bit older, and we had 55 trucks at one time. And when I started getting a little bit older and getting into it, I sat back one day and I thought, well, I've got a Prudential base account that I just send them money every month, and then they just do what they do. It was a, investment thing and a retirement thing. And there were months that I would make 14, 15, I have made 16, 18% on my Prudential base account. And the beauty of that was I send them a little bit of money, they invest it for me, I make a profit. It's really good. And I was making like I said, sometimes 14%. It has been as low as 2%. But, when the stock market's doing good and the economy's doing good, those things get up there and do okay. So I'm thinking, why in the world wouldn't everybody just shut down their trucking company and buy a Prudential base account? Because never once in 30 years since I've had that account, I've got a couple of them, never once has anybody from Prudential base called me on a Saturday night, and they're on the side of the road somewhere, and I'm a son of a bitch and a motherfucker and a liar. Never once on Saturday night at midnight has anybody from Prudential base ever called me and cussed me out. Not once, ever. Not one time, ever. So I get to thinking, guys in the trucking business, I start thinking, okay, how smart am I to keep busting my ass and doing all this work for, 7%? And the truth of the matter is, if you're in the trucking business, and if Sparky were here, he could tell you, and you guys know this too, because I'm looking at who's on here tonight, and I got a few newbies, not very many, but most of you guys are pretty experienced old hands at this. And this is what I talked about last week. We're in the equipment business too. Okay, we buy and sell equipment. I don't know if Roger's on here tonight. How you survive 7% on the net of every truck after you paid your drivers? You have to do volume, Nicholas. That's how you do volume. That's why you want your drivers to run 2,500 miles a week, because if you do the math, there's two ways to make money with a truck. You can either run 5,000 miles at $1 a mile, or you can run 2,500 miles at $2 a mile. Which one do you want to do? You see where I'm going with this? If you have fixed costs on a truck, and I'm not going to get into this tonight, because I'm busy bitching about other shit. But if you have fixed costs on a truck, if you have a truck payment, and if you have R&L carriers had honest numbers for years, their trucks were 25% cheap, 25,000 cheaper per unit, and parts, there were 20% markup. Common knowledge there. I don't know if it's still that way. It was for a long time. Probably, Todd, probably. I would think the model to look at now for that kind of thing is Prime. Because they're in the truck leasing business. They don't give a shit if you haul freight or not, as long as you make that payment. They don't care. So, my point, and the answer to your question, Nicholas, is you have to do X amount of volume to make it work, on 7% to pay your bills. So, if you've got a truck, and let's say you got a $2,000 truck, month truck payment, which to me is a very high payment, but let's say you do, and then you've got your insurance, and let's say that's $1,000 a month. I'm just throwing numbers, okay? I'm not comparing anything. Let's say you're throwing numbers. I'm throwing numbers. 2,000 truck payment, 1,000 insurance. And you got some other fixed costs too. You got your tags, you got, a couple other things. You got maintenance. I've never really figured maintenance for a fixed cost. I would love to get Shane says, yes, they get better costs on trucks and parts, but they spend a lot more administratively. Yeah, but most of that administrative stuff now is systemic. What I'd really like to, here, Shane, here's a question for you. Do you consider maintenance fixed or variable? I've always figured it for variable. But that said, I put a number on it based on the number of miles I run. So I've already seen maintenance. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make, Nicholas, I believe 7% was after everything was paid, including drivers. Yes, net. 7% at the end of the day, that's the money the company gets to keep, or the owner. Yes. Shane, variable. Yeah, me too. But you've got these expenses, Nicholas, and they're monthly fixed expenses. And let's say your monthly fixed expenses are, let's say they're $4,000. I'm just throwing a number out there. Just throwing a number. So you start out on the first of the month, day before yesterday. You start running and you think, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my fixed expenses for the month and I'm going to pay them. So when you get to that $4,000 number, however you have to get there, at $1.50 a mile or at $3 a mile, drivers, dispatchers, and owner's salary. That's correct. Trimble says maintenance is variable, but I like to put 72 cents a mile for maintenance. That's high for me, and I've got trailers that cost me 27, 28 cents. Anyway, Nicholas, the answer to the question, I'm going to finish this if it kills me. If you start out your month and think in terms of you've got to pay your fixed costs first, okay, at $4,000. Once you get to that number and you make your truck payment and you make your insurance payment, and you pay off those other things that you have to pay every month, whatever it is, every single month, even if the truck's sitting still, you got to pay those payments, right? Your fixed payments. Once you get to that number, and let's say it's $4,000, okay, then for the whole rest of the month, you're basically operating on your variable costs, okay? And your variable costs are going to be big one, fuel, okay? And according to everybody that just answered my question here, Shane, John, all you guys, variable cost, maintenance, and that number, if you have an older truck, it's probably going to be a little bit higher. Your maintenance cost is going to be a little bit higher. Bottom line is, you've got those fixed expenses behind you. That $4,000 is behind you now. And let's say you make that number in 10 days, okay? Then for the next 20 days, you're operating your truck just on your variable expenses. You get out a chalkboard and you write that down. And you go, shit, I made my fixed expenses in 10 days. So now I got 20 days. And all I got to pay for the next 20 days, Jacinda, you better listen to me. You're listening to me. I know you are. All you've got to do for the next 20 days is operate on your variable expenses. Your fuel, your maintenance, your driver pay. See, all those things are based on how many miles you run. So if you're operating on your variable expenses and you look at it from that perspective, and let's say right now your variable expenses average somewhere, and okay, again, guys, I'm throwing numbers out here. You're going to be different. You got fuel, you got your driver pay, and if you are the driver, you have to pay yourself. You have to pay yourself. If you're in business, you have to pay yourself. But you got fuel, you got driver pay, you've got maintenance. Let's say maintenance is, I don't know, let's say it's 35 cents a mile. Just for fun. You got maintenance, you got a few other things that go along with your variable expenses. But basically, let's say, for the sake of discussion, you're operating your truck at about $1.25 to $1.30 a mile, as opposed to that first 10 days of the month when you had to make your fixed expenses. So for the last 20 days of the month, you're free. That frees you up. If you're thinking this way and you're planning this way and this is the way you're going at it, you're free to make your decisions a little bit differently. Jess Graham can't talk right now. Nicholas say, I do $250 a week to maintenance. Good. That's a good number. Everybody's going to be different maintenance because everybody's equipment's different. No two trucks are exactly the same ever. But Jess Graham understands these numbers critically well because Jess Graham, she works to live. She doesn't live to work. And she can tell you what day she's made her fixed expenses. And she doesn't have very many because her truck's paid for. She's got good insurance because she's a safe driver and has been for a long, long time. So her fixed expenses are very low, very low. But still, she can pay her fixed expenses, for the month, for the whole month, okay? She can pay her fixed expenses in 4 days. She's done. The rest of the month, she's operating just on her variable expenses. And she knows how to do that. So that at that point, she'll decide whether to work the weekend or not, based on the amount of revenue you want to make. Now, a lot of people are listening to me talking. They're thinking, okay, Frank, that's all bullshit. You got to make $3 a mile all the time. You should be thinking that way all the time. Well, okay. The truth of the matter is that's how I think. That's what I do. I don't mark a date on my calendar when my fixed expenses are paid for. I just keep trying to maximize my rate per mile the whole time, all the time. And I make my decisions based on that. Todd says, my truck is being a needy asshole right now. Yeah, they can do that. They can do that. Anyway, that's my story about and I was trying to tie that into broker transparency. So I can promise you that I don't know, probably 95% or more of the brokers that you talk to on any given day that are on DAT and those, truck stop and all those. Mara says, that's always my goal, to make the most per mile. Always. That's correct. And me too. Me too. I don't hit my fixed expense number and slow down. I don't do that. But when it comes to transparency, I promise you, 98% of the brokers you talk to on the load boards have absolutely no concept of what I was just talking about, what it costs to operate your truck. Here's another news flash, brothers and sisters. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. Electrical gremlin. God, I hate that shit. Well, I'd rather take a beating than mess with an electrical system. Oh, I hate that shit. I saw your post today. You got a ground wire off somewhere, Todd. So those brokers don't know the answer to that question. And they don't care. They don't care what it costs to operate your truck. They don't care if they've got a load. My work slowdown decisions are only based on weather. Yeah. If they've got a load going from Nashville, Tennessee to New York City, they don't care how much it costs you to go there. They don't care. If they've got a load, going from Nashville to Chicago, which is a damn good lane because there's always good freight coming out of there, all they know is that yesterday they moved 3 of those loads for $600, and by God, you'll do it for that too. That's all they know. They don't know anything about what you do, what decisions you make, why you make the decisions you make, why you do the things you do, why you act the way you do, why you get mad. They don't care. Shane said, why would they? The only thing they need to know is how much it costs them. That's correct. That is correct. Yeah. And it's a good thing because they don't. They don't care. They don't want to know. And now suddenly there's some truck drivers out there that want to know all those answers from brokers. Well, I got news for you too. And there's some guys on here that broker freight too. I'm not the only one. And from a broker's point of view, I will tell you this: I have in this office here in Nashville, I have 7 people. I have 9 people on the payroll, 7 in the office. In the office down in Florida, I have 11 full time, and I have a total of 13. So I have to pay those people. I have to pay for the building. I own the building. Just throwing this out there, but there's a budgeting software that's very easy and excellent to use called You Need a Budget, or WIB for short. I know everybody uses QuickBooks or some other type of bookkeeping software, but having your costs laid out in the budget is super simple to see. It's very cheap per month as well, much easier to see where your money going than QuickBooks. Okay, that's good. Good to know. I use QuickBooks. It took me forever. Fuck, most brokers don't even know anything about the freight they're hauling. That's true. I use QuickBooks, but Ron, you're welcome to come on here and talk about your system anytime you want to. I'm always happy to see new and better stuff. I think it's wonderful. So you're welcome here anytime to do that. But getting back to it now, some of these people, because talking heads like this little bastard on YouTube and a couple of others, well, on transparency, that little piece of shit's never brokered a load in his life. He couldn't do it if you held his head underwater and made him do it with bubbles. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an idiot. Do you go to Hibbett Sports and walk up to the counter with a pair of Nikes and go, exactly how much have you got in these? No, you don't. And you wouldn't understand the answer if somebody told you. I'd be happy to, just to be clear, not a sales pitch, just a recommendation. Perfect, great. Nicholas says, I gotta hustle this quarter so I can pay my taxes. Yeah, no shit. Hey, I got news for you. Todd said, we can all learn from others. There's always a better way for everything. Always. Nicholas, I got news for you. If you're in the trucking business and you're a single guy, owner, operator, and you have to pay taxes every quarter or at the end of the year, you need a new accountant. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to say any more about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. You need a new accountant. Period. So, but anyway, everybody wants this transparency thing, and it's like a new hot word. It's like a hot button. Everybody, well, I'm broker transparency. Well, if you don't sign that little gizmo on my little contract, I don't use you, because I don't have time to fuck with you. And like I said, I've only had one carrier ask me that, and he called on the phone. He didn't ask me. He asked little Frank, and which is funny. Because my son's a really, very laid back, cool, calm, collected guy, unless you ask him the wrong question or rub him the wrong way, and then he's not. And Shane says, it does me no good to know what the load paid you unless I completely understand all your expenses. I don't have time for that. I don't either. And that's why, like I said, that's a huge reason that I don't care to discuss it. And I only found a good accountant after 22 years doing this. They were never bad. A lot better now. My accountant passed away right before Christmas. I haven't done anything to find a new one yet, but I have to, and I hate that because she was with me for 18 years and did a great, great, great job. Anyway, guy called and he wanted to haul milk for us, and that's all done on yearly contracts. And he wanted to haul milk, and he asked Frank. He said, I'm just going to need to know to understand, what are you charging the accountant? Mara say, I am my accountant. You need to come spend the weekend with me then. What are you charging the customer? And Frank said, oh, you need to ask my dad that. He did that. So he transferred the call to me. I got the call. Hello. Yeah, I'm talking to your son about hauling for him. What I'm going to need to know is, what do you charge the customer? And I said, well, what do you give a fuck? Well, I do. And I said, well, go get your own customer. Charge them anything you want to, but you can't haul for me. Oh, so you're going to disqualify me because I asked that question? I said, yeah. I said, because anybody would ask that question, you're just too stupid to haul freight for me. I said, I'm not going to babysit you. I'm not going to coddle you. I'm not going to answer the phone 3 or 4 times a week when you want to whine about something and bitch and complain. I said, I don't have time for you or people like you. I said, you just go in the corner and fuck yourself. Hung up. I don't have time for that. And the other thing is, it's nobody's business. It really isn't. It's like Shane was saying. Who cares? If you call me on the phone, and here's how my girls answer the phone. Here's what they say. What do you need to do this one? That's what they always say. They don't ever say, hi, my name is Candy. This load pays $3 a month. They never do that. They never do that. They go, what do you guys need to do this? And then they'll talk. Sometimes back and forth. Now, all of our contract stuff, that is what it is for a year. We don't talk about rates anymore. We already did that. We don't, nothing changes. The only thing that changes with the contract stuff is every Tuesday, obviously, the fuel surcharge changes, but nothing else does. Nothing else changes. So those rates stay the same. And that's a cool thing for everybody, because that's a conversation we don't have to have. And we already did that. We set up our rates, for the whole year, or sometimes 2. Mara says, I never give out a number first. That's a good tactic. And if you don't, like if you called our office and if we were doing some irregular route freight, which we don't do a whole lot of it, most of our stuff's dedicated, and we were doing some irregular route thing, and you even said that, I never give out a number. What does this load pay? Then they'd say a number to you. They go, well, okay, how about $1,200? And you'll go, well, I need $1,300, which basically makes both of you fucking morons. Because if you'd have just said it in the beginning, everybody would have been happy and we would have saved that tiny little bit of time. But I think most people know what they need to get, and if you get what you need, what do you care what the other guy gets? And people don't understand. Most of these truck drivers don't understand that what these brokers do, some of them, not all of them, I always do, set the anchor high. There you go. What these truck drivers don't understand is that brokers go out and get customers. They go out and sell. They market their services to customers. And these truck drivers don't even see that. They just think you get up in the morning and you turn on DAT, and there all of a sudden magically appears all these loads, and the people that have them are assholes. I want your 750-mile freight, Frank. Why are you holding out on me? You never have a truck. I guarantee you don't have a truck where I need one at $7.50 a mile. I guarantee you. I'll bet you you don't have a truck where I need one. Anyway, very few people do. But anyway, for my $7.50 a mile freight, you need to have a truck in downtown Washington, D.C. when I need it, typically between midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning. The truck needs to be bulletproof, including the windows. You need to be armed. You have to have a co-driver / guard with you that is armed, and you have to have an armed escort. You ready for that? Dustin, Don Rickles is my favorite guy. I miss Don every day. I channel Don Rickles some days. I channel him. That's what I do. So on the subject of, it is an armored truck. I just said that, armored and bulletproof. I know Idela's my person. I know that. Man, that freight pays more than $7.50. But if you want to do it for that, Jonathan, I will goddamn sure let you haul as much as you want for $7.50. You just have to meet the criteria. Anyway, broker transparency. And what I wanted Shaggy. I want Shaggy on here anytime he wants to be on here. I just haven't seen him lately. He's been on vacation. I don't know what he's up to. What I wanted Sparky to talk about, he and I were talking about that, and he said these people don't get it. They don't understand. They don't understand what brokers do, and they couldn't go out and get an account. If you tried to force them to, they couldn't do it. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to talk to people. Deb Dingo does. She did. She did. I don't know how many others of you have. Nicholas said you did. There you go. So they just think you turn on DAT, and there's all these loads, and all these people that have loads are assholes because they saw it on social media. They have no idea what it takes to put a load there. No idea. No idea. No idea. So my response on social media, and I get kicked out of a lot of groups because of it, and I got kicked out of, there was one woman, and I'm not going to say her name, but she runs with her husband. She doesn't drive, but she rides with her husband a lot. And she gets me kicked out of all kind of groups all the time because I don't like her because she's a fucking moron. And she likes to preach about transparency all the time. And she's the dumbest fuck I think I've ever seen. But she gets me kicked out of groups because I disagree with her about that. And I don't give a shit. I don't care. The other thing we're going to talk about is some of these regulations, but I've already hit an hour, being on here with you guys, and I don't want to keep everybody around all night. The other thing was some of these regulations, and I don't understand a lot of it. I don't understand the motivation other than the only thing I can, and I don't know if Todd's still on here or not. The only thing I can figure is that the American Trucking Association and those people that support it, those gangsters, that bunch of fucking gangsters there, those mafia. The only thing I can think of is that they want to try to put the small and medium guys under. You're not missing anything there. You should invite her on the show. That woman that I don't like, I don't want her on the show. I don't want her anywhere near me. Tricia, you ought to know me by now. I don't give a shit about people like that. I don't have time for that. I like you guys. You are my people. Todd say control. Yeah, control of what though? Because Todd, those mega carriers that are trying to squeeze us down and push us down and all that, all those guys, you have to be able to show the government that they can make money. They can make money by coming up with new regulations and new rules. There has to be some money in there. They don't care. They sell it as safety. 99.9 bitchy. Okay, I remember now, Jacinda. I remember. We had this conversation. I remember. Anyway, there has to be some money involved, or they don't want to do anything. They don't care. They sell it as safety. This is for your safety. I mean, you ask Pete Buttigieg. I don't know if the guy knows anything about trucks or not. I don't think so. I know he's former military. I don't know what he did in the military, but he's been to Iraq a couple of times, stuff like that. If he was in the motor pool, maybe he does, maybe we won't. He doesn't. But it's all, well, we want to be safe, don't we? That's an old sales tactic, to answer a question with a question. Good salespeople will always do that. You'll ask him a question, he'll go, "What are you gonna?" Todd Campbell, Navy. Oh, okay. Good salespeople, you'll say, "What do you need to get from that?" And they'll always respond with, "Well, what do you need?" It's always answer a question with a question. Put the ball back in your court. Make you commit, make you do the confirmation, so they don't have to do it or they don't want to do it. Or like Mara says, leave money on the table. So you got Mara here tonight, and you got Shane Ferris here tonight with two completely different looks at the exact same thing. Shane's not going to leave money on the table because he's going to hit that number hard and high right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. Mara's not going to leave money on the table because she's not going to say a number. She's going to make the broker say the number, and then she's going to push from there. Either way, I got to say, either way, you're both heading in the same direction for the same reason. Either way, right? I mean, you're both trying to get to the best rate. And very seldom ever, I've known a few people that do. Nicholas say 2 tours in Iraq as a combat engineer. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Nicholas, that's how I do it. Which one? Either way, we're both trying to get to the best number. Seldom ever do I see a person sit there and say, and Shaggy talks about this. Well, you got to know your operating costs. You got to know your operating costs. Well, of course you do. And then you have to know your profit margin. What is acceptable as a profit margin? You do, don't you? I mean, you have to know that, don't you? You want to stay in business next year, don't you? Next week. You want to keep paying the bills, don't you? So you have to know your margin, and you have to know, an acceptable profit margin. You have to know those things. Because seldom ever have people ever call our office. Back when we used to do a lot of spot market freight, back when we used to do a lot of that, almost never would a person call and say, well, I'll do that load to New York, but it costs me $3.68 a mile to go up there, so I'm going to need, very seldom do they do that. Very seldom do they tell me why they want what they want. Now, they will say, well, I got a deadhead 100 miles. Or they said, Mara, I know my cost, but it ain't out here just to cover costs. Yeah, no shit. I've been exposed. I don't want to play for exposure anymore. I want to get paid. So, and I'm trying to tie this back, guys, that, what I was trying to talk about tonight was broker transparency. It's a hot topic. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You don't have any right to know what I charge my customer any more than you have a right to know what Walmart, pays for tomatoes. You don't have a right to know what I charge my customer any more than what, Hibbett's pays for that pair of Nikes. It's called a free market. It's called capitalism. That's how it works. People compete with each other. Okay? So if I'm paying $5 a mile to go to New York, and the guy down the street from me has got pretty much the same load, and he's paying $6, Deb says most of the regs are bullshit. Absolutely they are bullshit. Especially, and we'll get into this anytime you want to, Deb, especially some of this stuff about emissions. And it's been proven over and over and over and over again. Emissions are bullshit. It's a trick. It's a money trick. So I don't know why these big carriers want to push us down, but they do, because they don't want to do our job. They don't want to do what we do. Sparky and I were talking about today too. They're not going to do it. Their drivers aren't going to do it. Their drivers are not going to do what we do. They're not going to do it. They don't know how to do it in the first place. And secondly, they're not going to work that hard. And they'll tell you that, and they'll quit. They'll quit Swift and go to work for Prime. They'll quit Prime and go to work for whoever. You know where I'm going. They want to monopolize the market. Deb, again, why? For what? They're not going to do what you do. I'll tell you what, they're not going to do what Todd Campbell does. They're not going to do what he does. J.B. Hunt is not going to send a truck to do what Todd Campbell does. And everybody here knows that I haul milk, and I've been hauling milk for 30 years. A lot of it. I haul a shit lot of it. In the last 10 years, J.B. Hunt has tried to get in the business, and they put 100 trucks into it. It wasn't like they just said, oh, we're going to try this with 4 or 5. They put 100 trucks into it and went out and bid on a big chunk up in the Northeast to haul milk. And they did it for about 8 months and gave notice and quit. Couldn't make it work. It didn't fit their profit model. And their drivers didn't want to do the work. So they quit it. Prime has tried to do it. All those tankers Prime's got, right? They tried to do it. They don't haul one drop of milk or any food-grade tanker material anymore. Couldn't make it work. Drivers wouldn't do it. Drivers didn't want to do it. They couldn't make it work. They couldn't make it profitable. Couldn't make it work. So, who else tried that? Schneider. Schneider put a shit ton of truck. No, they won't, but they think their driverless trucks will. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, Deb. This is stuff that driverless trucks cannot do. They can't pick up milk at a dairy farm. They can't do the agricultural stuff that Todd Campbell does. They can't do it. A driverless truck can't take your flatbed and properly secure a load of freight. You or Mara. A driverless truck can't do those things. They can't do it unless they develop a securement robot that just specializes in securing loads. I would say, I know most of you, and most of you are, younger than me, but not that much, some of you. No, but their final mile drivers can. Yeah, if they will. But like I'm telling you right now, if they control the market, they control the commerce. You know, Todd, I've been hearing that for 30 years in the milk business. If you control the transportation, you control the milk. And there is a lot of truth to that. A lot. They can't do port work either. There's a lot of stuff driverless trucks can't do. And they'll find people that, like Mara said and Deb Dingo, they'll find people to do the final mile stuff. They'll find people to do that and load them and send them away. And they'll sell it to you in the name of safety and the fact that you can be home every night, because all you got to do is go to the port 3 times a day and load a truck and bring it over there for the robot. That's all you got to do. So they'll probably do that. But in my case, they can't really do that. They can't go to a farm and load a load of milk. They can't do it. And maybe one of these days they'll figure out a way to do it. You know, and the way we do it, we service some real big corporate farms and some very, very small, tiny little farms, and everything in between. And at the big corporate farms, I put a guy out there loading trailers all day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, work 3 shifts, loading trailers, park them at the yard, and then my line haul drivers just come in and pick up the trailers, pick up the trailers, pick up the trailers. The small farms, you can't do that. The small farm, you have to send a road driver in there. He has to load the trailer, you know, secure everything, do all the samples, you know, safety samples and all that bacteria stuff and all, do the seals, do all that stuff, weigh it in, weigh it out, and then take it to the plant. So niche markets aren't what they're after. No, and I don't think they're after that either. That's the point that I'm trying to make. But we've always, those of us on this show right now tonight, we've always made our living in the niche markets. We've always made our living in the gray areas. We've always made our living doing this stuff. Shaggy, what up? Man, I was going to call you earlier. I'll call you later. Probably not tonight because I'm tired. But I'll call you tomorrow and we'll talk. I didn't know if you were home yet or what. Anyway, you know, these niche markets is where we live. It's where we breathe. It's what we do. You know, I guess if we really wanted to be shitty about it, we could. You know, we could do that. So I'm not sure what the motivation is. Like I said, it has to be money or it has to be some other thing. You know, Todd says control. I'm back yesterday. Good deal. Glad you guys are back safe. Hope you had fun. I know you did. I saw some of your pictures. You're an asshole. But anyway, you know, Shaggy, I'm not trying to say I resent the fact that you went to Florida for 2 weeks and enjoyed yourself, because I really hope you did. Asshole. But anyway, I'm not sure why they're trying to do this or who's got them convinced that it's a good idea to do this, because the big guys have tried to do what I do and they can't do it. And I think it's going to be a long, long time. You know, I'll probably be long dead and gone before they figure out a way to do that. You know, so it'll be somebody else's problem that day. But today it's mine. So, you know, that was part of what I wanted to talk about. Some of these ridiculous things. And Sparky and I were talking today about, you know, the agricultural exemption and the 150-mile, you know, radius rule and all that kind of thing. What I don't see happening, I see the ATA because, you know, for years and years and years, 23 years, I was in Washington a week out of a month when I was doing all the contracting stuff. I was up there all the time. And I was going to the meetings, and I was there, and I walked the halls, and I talked to the people, and I was in that circle. I was in that group for a long, long time. And I will tell you something. The ATA always, 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 without fail, they always have a representative in the room, no matter what. If it's 5 people, somebody from the ATA will be there. If it's 320 people, somebody from the ATA will be there. And they always have to raise their hand and stand up and give their little talk. Well, I'm with the ATA. So we don't, Alyssa, what's happening? Happy New Year. So we don't have that guy that stands up and goes, I'm not with the ATA. I've done that. I damn sure have. I'm not with the ATA. You know, we don't have that guy. We don't have that representation. We don't have that voice. So we don't ever hear of anybody, yeah, like the mafia, damn right. We don't ever hear of anybody saying, yeah, news from Capitol Hill today. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, it's been brought before them to eliminate 12 of the regulations they've enacted in the last 15 years because they're not applicable anymore. You never hear that. OIDA used to be. OIDA is nothing but a fucking insurance company now. Let me say this about that. You can get your insurance cheaper, quicker, and they'll give a shit more if you buy it from Shaggy. Careful, Frank. The ATA is watching. Nah, they know me. I know them. I know them very well. Their senior vice president walked up to my table one day at lunch, and he was not invited to be at the table, but he walked up and asked me if I was going to finish my sandwich. I'm serious. Hey, Frank, you going to finish that? Get the fuck out of here. Todd says, I seen an ITA guy on TV, look 22. What experience does he have in any industry? None. None. He doesn't have any. That's probably people like me, Deb Dingo, Michelle, Mara, Candace, Todd. That's our biggest complaint is that there are 25-year-old people up there making rules about shit they don't know anything at all about. Something they read in some study, something that they calculate on a computer that makes them believe that in order to be safe, we've got to cut the speed back on trucks. I see more wrecks than anybody. I'll get in trouble for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't care. So if I get kicked out, you guys have to come over to my... There's Elizabeth. What's up, girl? I need to talk to Eddie. I got 2 trucks today, and I want to talk to him quickly. In fact, I'm going to call him. Cheap and good. Anyway, Elizabeth has that effect on me. She distracted me, and I have no idea what I was talking about. Anyway, we don't have a voice up there, and we don't have a whole lot of money up there, so we don't ever hear anything. But the people that I see in more wrecks than anybody else ever, and check me out on this, okay? Does the OIDA even represent the interests of owner-operators in Washington, D.C.? They say they do, but I don't see any evidence of it. It's been a long time. They used to, they used to go out there and fight and hire lawyers and do this and that. I don't know what they do. They say they do, but I haven't seen any success from them in a long time. Long time. I don't see anything published saying that a representative from OOIDA represented the American truck driver and got this bill defeated. Used to. You don't anymore. Don't anymore. But the people I see in more wrecks than anybody else is fucking FedEx. I call them crash boxes on the CB radio. That's what I call them, crash boxes. They're always pulling doubles. Most of those people can't drive for shit, and they run, trying to beat the clock. They're the ones going through the construction areas at 70 miles, 65 miles an hour, whatever their truck will run. They're the ones going through the school zones. They're the ones in bad weather, go, because they got to beat the clock. And if you say something to them, like you walk up to them in a truck stop, and you say something, they go, we're on a schedule, man, fuck you. You mind your business, I'll mind mine. But I see more of them crashed, and I've had more of them come, within a hair of crashing into me than anybody else out there. Anybody else out there. Every year, though, they get the President's Award for Safety. Every year. I don't know what president, but they do. So, anyway, those were the 2 things I wanted to talk about tonight. And I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. And we'll do it again next week. And if anybody wants to come on with me and talk, and chit-chat it up. I opened up the phones last week and not one single person called me. Not one. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Anyway. I've kept you guys an hour and 20 minutes. I've kept you guys too long. You've got a lot of people sitting here talking about this good stuff, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you do. we need some truck shows coming up. I'm gonna try to get Tony Justice on here for two reasons. One, thank you, Tony. Shane say, keep going. I'm gonna try to get Tony Justice on here one night, and I wanted to get him on here to talk a little bit. I'm headed your way this weekend, so I may come by next week. All you gotta do is call, and you know that. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here. I'm not a real big country music guy, and I don't mean that bad. Don't take me wrong, because I am a musician. I'm a drummer and I play piano. Hugs, Michelle. Thank you for coming, babe. I appreciate you. We need a marathon night. You need to come on here, Shane. You need to come on here anytime you want to. Jacinda, I love and appreciate you. Same to you, honey, and you know that. Talking about you today. You know, I saw that you were coming up in this direction. And when the guy was coming in to pick up the Deb Dingo guitarist here, I know you are. Anyway, and I want to hang out one day. Jacinda, I said, well, Jacinda might be at the shop. And he said, oh, you're kidding me. He was like goo-goo. He was all goo-goo. I wanted to meet you. Anyway, what was I? Fuck. Oh, Tony Justice. I'm not a huge fan. Tony's kind of rock and roll / country kind of thing. And I'm an old school country guy. Todd said, can I pick on Tony? I like picking on him, just being an ass, not an asshole. Yeah, fuck yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to do. Gotta go. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you coming by, brother. I'm not a huge country fan, but he's kind of rock and roll guy anyway. But here's the thing about Tony. They're doing this Guitars in Large Cars thing. I think it's in May. I'm not sure. I think it's in May, and it's in Tennessee, over in the mountains. And I want all of us to get together and go to that. I think it'll be fun. And I want to get Tony on here one night. And here's what I want Tony to talk about. I want him to talk about fuel surcharge and regulations. I'm gonna tell you something about Tony. A lot of guys got mad at him a year or so back. You know, well, he's too liberal for this. He's not a liberal guy. He is not. But you know, he got labeled that way, so it pissed him off, and he quit talking. Tony is a fucking wizard when it comes to fuel surcharge. You know, Deb Dingo, yes, I'll be there. Hell, it's right over there by your house, isn't it? Isn't it? Aren't you? I'm gonna ride my motorcycle over there if the weather's good. I want to get him on here one night. And I just want him to talk about regulations and fuel surcharge, because I'm gonna tell you what, that guy knows his shit. If you can get him to talk about it, because some people pissed him off. And he said, you know what, the hell with them. I just want him to talk about it. He is a voice that we need to hear. He's got a great big voice, and he's smart, and he knows his shit, and he's good at it. Now, I'm just telling you, he knows his shit. So, you know, the fact that he's a fun guy to listen to, play music, and just a nice guy in general, you know, that's a good thing. But, you know, the fact that he absolutely is a huge advocate for small, medium-sized trucking companies, that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna take Shane's advice and go marathon tonight. I'm gonna get out of here and go eat some cookies. My wife made some cookies. Sometimes he won't take a hard stance, but he knows. Todd, he's not a hard stance kind of guy, which is fine with me. That's fine with me. That's fine with me. Not everybody has to, not everybody has to swat you over the head with their opinion. He's not that guy. He's not going to do it. He's not going to beat you over the head with his opinion. And I'm good with that. I like it. It's okay with me. But I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to leave you guys with it. I've had fun tonight, and I'm sorry that Sparky couldn't be here. But, maybe next time. Who knows with him? He's so busy all the time. And he had that guy come in, tore his damn truck all up. And, last time I talked to him, he was kind of, just to say, not everybody is going to always like you or me or him. That's true. That's true. That's true. All you can do is Do what Jacinda does. Smile, make the best of it, and keep moving in the forward direction. Take care of each other, guys, because I appreciate you guys, and I love you, and I mean that. And I think you know that. I do. Jacinda, I finally got to talk on the phone on him the other night. He's a good guy. He really is genuinely a good guy. And when it comes to Todd, be like, I like you. All right, man, I appreciate it. I like you. Let's get together. Let's get together and hang out. We were talking about doing like a jamboree type thing here in Nashville. Maybe we need to do that. But I think Tony's truck show might be a good place to start, because it's in the mountains. It's beautiful. There's be a lot of music, a lot of trucks. I mean, shit I like. That's the shit I like. You throw some motorcycles and girls in there. I'm a happy motherfucker. But anyway, guys, have a great night. Take care of each other. We are what we got, and we will figure this thing out. Nothing but love, Jacinda. Man, I appreciate you being on here. I miss you when you're not. But you guys have fun. Have a good week. Watch out. The weather around here in Nashville. Anyway, I have a couple of those coming to Crashville. Come on down. Call me, man. Call me. We'll go eat anytime you want to. I got to be at the shop tomorrow and the next day, but otherwise, I'll be around. In the meantime, have some fun. Do what you want to do.
Across these plains and prairies, rocky mountain highs, fade off into the distance like ghost riders in the sky. Black smoke and white wine, steel horses side by side. It's more than just a living, y'all. Hell, it's our way of life. We're the last of the cowboys. Giddy up, gone boys. 18 wheels on the concrete. It's a slow and dying breed, rolling like Jesse James. Modern day outlaw game. If you're out here riding with me, come on back and make some noise. We're the last of the cowboys.